Thank you, Madam President. I ask unanimous consent that the quorum call be dispensed with.
Without objection.
Thank you. Madam President, I rise today as the Senate considers legislation on an issue that is critically important to our nation. The Agriculture Improvement Act of 2018, the Farm Bill. The goal, the responsibility, the absolute requirement is to provide our farmers, our ranchers and growers, and everyone within America's agriculture and food value chain certainty and predictability, especially during these very difficult times. This is paramount, absolutely paramount to many other issues or any other issues and concerns. It's not an exaggeration to say our nation's food and fiber capability with regards to production hang in the balance with what we do here on this legislation. Simply put, let's get this done. Many of my colleagues have introduced legislation over the last year that address priorities and stakeholders in their states. The bill that passed the Agriculture Committee, with the help and the partnership of my distinguished ranking member, Senator Stabenow, passed with a strong bipartisan vote of 20-1 earlier this month. And that bill addresses many of these concerns. In fact, the Ag Committee's bill includes this bill we're considering today, portions of 65 standalone bills, and an additional 73 amendments were adopted in the committee. That's called working together. That's called regular order. Needless to say, we have work to include as many priorities from members both on and off the Ag Committee, and we want to continue working with members to address their concerns. Prepare your amendments and come work with Senator Stabenow and myself. We are endeavoring to craft a farm bill that meets the needs of producers across all regions, all crops. All of agriculture today is struggling, not just one or two commodities. We are indeed going through a very difficult time, what we call in farm country a rough patch. We must have a bill that works all across our great nation. And we must ensure that our voluntary conservation programs are keeping farmland in operation while protecting our agriculture lands and forests and other natural resources. Let us not forget that in a few short decades, the global population will top 9 billion people. Some are seeing even 10. Agriculture production then will need to double in the near future to meet that demand. And accomplishing this task requires efficiency, not just on the farm and ranch, but also in our government. We must focus on program integrity. We have done that. And common sense investments to strengthen our nutrition programs to ensure the long-term health and success of those in need of assistance. We have done that in this bill with efficiencies, reform, and priority with regards to program integrity. And with trade and market uncertainty, to say the least, we must provide certainty for our trade promotion and research programs. Today, we're losing our markets. Kansas wheat is not going to Mexico. Mexico, it's buying its wheat from Argentina. Same thing for corn. Our corn is not going down to Mexico. Mexico is buying their corn from Brazil. I think you could really say that when you impose a tariff to try to get things done on trade deficits, you also run the risk, and we've already seen it happen, of retaliation, and retaliation comes back directly on our producers in agriculture. That's why we have to have this bill passed. Feeding an increasing global population is not simply an agriculture challenge, it is a national security challenge. Show me a country that cannot feed itself, and I'll show you a nation in chaos. This means we need to grow more, raise more, with fewer resources. That's going to take investments in research, new technology, lines of credit, and proper risk management. It takes the government providing tools and then getting out of the producer's way. In this bill, we have made and we must make tough choices and be judicious with the scarce resources that we have. Through an open and deliberate hearing process over the last 18 months, members of the Senate Agriculture Committee have asked tough questions, re-examined programs to determine their effectiveness, and tried to ensure programs accomplish their fundamental purposes. Agriculture, and specifically the Farm Bill, has consistently answered the call to do more with less. And to those who say passing a Farm Bill in this environment is a daunting task, and yes, it is, I say together we can get this done. And I think about the folks back home right now. I'd like to point out that the wheat harvest is still rolling across Kansas and starting in Nebraska, headed for South Dakota and North Dakota. These farmers, in the midst of harvest, are facing Mother Nature, the unknown of a thunderstorm or hailstorm that could hit just as they try to harvest their grain. In Kansas, we have a drought, but we're still hopeful that we can harvest a reasonable crop. And we must adopt here the attitude of our producers: optimism and ingenuity. A farmer doesn't plant the seed in the ground without the faith and optimism of harvesting a good crop. That's what we should do. That means with bipartisan support, we must do our job. We must pass a bill that provides those same men and women the much-needed certainty and predictability they deserve. And again, that's the paramount issue. I know many members have concerns. Many members have amendments that want to address a specific problem, and they feel very strongly about it. And we're here to help them. We're here to help them to address that in this bill. But we also have to understand the tough challenges we face. Farmers and ranchers and growers are in a very difficult time. We must respond to that. We're the Agriculture Committee. We must accept that challenge. We must be champions for these people. And we need a bill. That's the number one issue: certainty and predictability during a very difficult time for our farmers and our ranchers and our growers. Now, this is not the best possible bill, but it is the best bill possible under these circumstances. So I look forward to working with my colleagues on continuing to move this process forward. And to my partner in this process, Senator Stabenow, thank you so much for your help and cooperation and working together. I look forward to working with you toward that goal in the days ahead. Let's get this bill done. I yield the floor.